The alarm screamed in Daeho's ears as his small ship spun out of control. Red lights flashed across every screen in the cockpit. Something had grabbed his vessel and pulled it from normal space into this unknown area. He tried every button and switch, but nothing worked. The ship was dying, and he was going with it. Through the front window, Daeho saw a massive structure floating in space. It looked like a dark castle made of metal and crystal, orbiting a red star that barely gave any light. The station was huge, easily the size of a small moon. Strange symbols covered its surface, glowing with a faint purple light. The ship crashed hard into one of the station's docking bays. Metal screamed and bent. Daeho's head hit something solid, and everything went dark for a moment. When his eyes opened again, smoke filled the cockpit. His ship was finished. The main engine was dead. The life support system was failing, and half the control panels had melted. Daeho grabbed his emergency pack and forced the door open. The station's air rushed in, cold and dry but breathable. He stepped onto the metal floor and looked around. The docking bay was enormous and completely empty. Dust covered everything. No ships, no people, no signs of life. Just silence and shadows. He had been on a simple scouting mission for Earth's space fleet. Nothing dangerous, just mapping some unexplored areas near human territory. Now he was stranded on an alien station with no way to call for help. His radio was broken. And even if it worked, he was too far from any human outpost. Daeho started walking through the dark corridors. His flashlight beam cut through the darkness, showing walls covered in those same strange symbols. The architecture was wrong somehow. The hallways were too tall, the doorways too wide. Whatever built this place was not human and not friendly to human design. Hours passed as he explored. The station seemed abandoned, but something felt off. Sometimes he heard sounds in the distance like metal scraping against metal. Other times he felt like someone was watching him. His military training told him to be careful, but he needed to find supplies if he wanted to survive long enough to repair his ship. Finally, Daeho found what looked like a storage area. Containers lined the walls, covered in dust and frost. He opened one and found power cells that might work with his ship's systems. He was reaching for another container when he felt it. A presence behind him. Cold, ancient, hungry. He turned around fast, pulling out his small pistol. A figure stood in the doorway, tall and impossibly thin. Her skin was pale gray, almost white, and her eyes glowed with a soft red light. She wore long robes that seemed to float around her body like they were underwater. She looked like a ghost, but her presence felt very real and very dangerous. The woman moved forward without walking. She just glided across the floor. Her lips moved and words came out in a language Daeho did not know. Then she tried again, this time in broken but understandable human speech. "You are human," she said. Her voice sounded like wind through empty rooms. "I have not seen your kind before. You should not be here." "My ship crashed," Daeho said, keeping his gun pointed at her. "I mean no harm. I just need to make repairs and leave." The woman tilted her head, studying him like a scientist looks at an interesting bug. "Leave? No one leaves this place. This is my prison, and now it is yours as well." Before Daeho could respond, she moved. One moment she was 10 feet away, the next she was right in front of him. Her cold hand grabbed his wrist and the gun fell from his fingers. Her other hand reached for his neck. Her touch was ice cold and wrong, like it was pulling something vital from his body. Pain exploded through Daeho's chest. He felt his energy draining away, flowing into her like water down a drain. His vision started to go dark. This was it. He was going to die on this forgotten station, drained by some alien creature. But then something changed. The flow of energy reversed. Instead of just taking from him, something pushed back. His body fought against the drain, adapting and resisting. The woman gasped and tried to let go, but now she could not. The connection between them locked in place. Red light exploded from where her hand touched his neck. Both of them screamed. When the light faded, they fell apart, both gasping on the cold floor. Daeho touched his neck and felt something new there. A mark. It glowed with a soft crimson light and felt warm against his cold skin. The woman stared at him with wide eyes. For the first time, she looked afraid. She pulled herself up and backed away, one hand pressed against her chest. She looked different now. Her skin had more color, her eyes burned brighter. She looked more alive than before. "Impossible," she whispered. "This cannot happen. In 10,000 years, no species has survived the feeding. No species has ever created a bond." "What are you?" "I am Daeho Kim, lieutenant in Earth's space fleet," he said, his voice shaking. What are you? What did you do to me? The woman stood straight, trying to recover her dignity. I am Nari, queen of the Velksari Empire. Or I was before they cast me out to die in this place. I tried to feed on you, to take your life force and survive another century. But your species resisted. More than resisted. You created a bond with me. Deho felt the mark on his neck pulse. Through it, he could sense Nari's emotions. Surprise, fear, and something else, hope. She had been alone for so long. Can you remove it? He asked. No, Nari said. The mark is permanent. It connects us now. I can feel your presence, sense your location. And you can feel me as well, can you not? It was true. Deho could feel something in the back of his mind. A cold presence that was Nari. It was strange and uncomfortable, but not painful. There is a prophecy, Nari continued, her voice quiet. An ancient text that speaks of an outsider who would bear the mark of bond. One who would force my empire to face a truth they buried long ago. I never believed it was real. But here you are. I do not care about prophecies, Deho said, anger rising in his voice. I just want to fix my ship and go home. Then we share a goal, Nari said. I can help you repair your vessel. I know this station better than anyone. But know this, human. The mark will draw attention. My people will sense my power awakening. They will come, and when they do, they will try to kill us both. Deho looked at the mark on his neck, glowing softly in the dark. His simple scouting mission had become something much more complicated. He was bonded to an alien queen, marked by some ancient prophecy and apparently about to be hunted by an empire of energy vampires. Just another day in space, he thought bitterly. But what choice did he have? He needed her help to survive, and maybe, just maybe, he could still find a way home. Fine, he said. Show me where we can find parts for my ship. But after that, we figure out how to break this bond and go our separate ways. Nari smiled, but it was a sad smile. As you wish, human. Though I fear separation may no longer be possible. The mark has chosen us. Our destinies are linked now, whether we want them to be or not. They walked together through the dark station, the marked human and the exiled queen. Neither of them knew it yet, but their meeting would change the fate of two civilizations. The prophecy had begun. For 3 days, Deho and Nari worked together in an uneasy partnership. She showed him through the ancient station, pointing out storage rooms and power terminals. The place was a maze of corridors and chambers, each one covered in dust and silence. Nari explained that this had once been a diplomatic outpost, built when the Velksari still talked with other species instead of just conquering them. The mark on Deho's neck changed things in ways he had not expected. Sometimes he felt stronger than normal, like he could lift heavy parts without effort. Other times his wounds healed faster than they should. Once, when he cut his hand on sharp metal, the injury closed within minutes instead of days. The mark was feeding him power from Nari, but the connection went both ways. Nari seemed different too. She laughed at one of his jokes, then looked surprised at herself, like she had forgotten how to laugh. She asked questions about Earth and listened with real interest when he talked about his home. The cold, distant queen was slowly becoming more human in her emotions. On the 4th day, while they were installing a new power cell in his ship, Deho asked the question that had been bothering him. Why were you exiled? He said. What did you do that was so terrible? Nari's hand stopped moving. She stared at the tools in her hands for a long moment before answering. I showed mercy, she said quietly. 500 years ago, we discovered a species called the Koril. They were primitive, barely starting to explore their own solar system. The High Council declared them a future threat. They ordered me to drain their world of life force and leave nothing behind. She looked up at Deho with those glowing red eyes. I refused. The Koril had done nothing wrong. They were just learning, growing, living their lives. I could not kill an entire species for crimes they might commit in 1,000 years. So I let them live. And they punished you for that? Deho asked, feeling anger rise in his chest. Compassion is weakness in Velksari culture, Nari explained. We are taught from birth that only strength matters. To show mercy is to admit you are soft, vulnerable. The council saw my choice as treason. They stripped me of my title, brought me to this forgotten station, and left me to slowly die over centuries. Deho put down his tools and sat next to her. That is wrong. You did the right thing, did I? Nari asked. I am not certain anymore. 500 years of isolation teaches you to question everything, even your own choices. Through the mark, Deho felt her pain, centuries of loneliness, doubt, and slow despair. It made him angry. The Velksari Empire sounded like bullies who punished anyone who disagreed with them. That night, as Deho tried to sleep in a corner of his broken ship, the mark suddenly burned hot against his skin. He jerked awake. Through the connection, he felt Nari's alarm. She was in the main hall of the station, and she was afraid. He grabbed his gun and ran. The corridors seemed longer than before, but he followed the feeling through the mark like a compass pointing north. He burst into the main hall and saw Nari standing before a holographic display. The screen showed 3 groups of ships approaching the station from different directions. "What is it?" Deho asked. "They are coming," Nari said. "All of them. Your people received your distress signal before your ship died. They sent a rescue fleet, but the Velksari High Council felt my power awakening through the mark. They sent their own ships to finish what they started 500 years ago." Deho looked at the display. One group of ships had human design, smaller and faster. The second group was much larger, dark vessels covered in sharp edges and glowing red symbols. The Velksari fleet. The third group was smaller than both, just a few ships, but they moved with purpose. "Who are those?" he asked, pointing at the third group. "Pirates and scavengers," Nari said. "They must have detected the energy spike from our bonding. They hope to find treasure or technology they can sell. 3 fleets all converging on this one station." Deho's mind raced. His people were coming to save him, but they had no idea they were about to run into an alien empire. The Velksari would destroy them without a second thought. "We have to warn them," Deho said. "Can you fix my communication system?" "Not in time," Nari said. "They will arrive within hours. But there is another way. This station has defensive systems. They have been dormant for centuries, but they respond to royal blood. I can awaken them." "Then do it," Deho said. Nari shook her head. "You do not understand. The systems were designed for cooperation between species. A Velksari alone cannot activate them. They need both of us working together through the bond. And if we fail, the energy feedback will kill us both." Deho looked at the approaching fleets. Human ships on one side, Velksari warships on the other, and chaos in between. His friends were coming to save him, flying straight into a trap. He thought about Commander Yuna, his closest friend in the fleet. She had probably led the rescue mission herself. She would never abandon him, even if it meant risking her own life, just like he would never abandon her. "Show me what to do," he said. Nari led him to the center of the station, a massive chamber with a crystal pillar reaching from floor to ceiling. The pillar glowed with faint purple light like a dying heartbeat. Ancient symbols covered its surface, the same ones Deho had seen throughout the station. "Place your hand there," Nari said, pointing to one side of the pillar. "I will take the other side. When we both connect, the mark will bridge us to the station's core. It will hurt. It will feel like your mind is being torn apart. But if we hold on, if we trust each other, the systems will awaken." Deho moved to the pillar and placed his palm against the cold crystal. Nari stood on the opposite side and did the same. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the mark on his neck exploded with light. Pain crashed through every nerve in his body. He screamed. Through the connection, he felt Nari screaming too. Their minds slammed together, memories and thoughts mixing in chaos. He saw her life, 10,000 years of existence flashing past. He felt her loneliness, her doubt, her hidden hope that maybe she had been right to show mercy, and she saw his life. A human born on Earth, trained to explore the stars. She felt his determination, his loyalty to his friends, his stubborn belief that some things were worth fighting for even when the odds were impossible. The pillar blazed with light. The station shuddered and came alive around them. Systems that had slept for centuries roared back to power. Defensive shields activated, weapon platforms rotated into position. The entire station transformed from a dead tomb into a fortress. When the light faded, both Deho and Nari collapsed to the floor. They lay there gasping, minds still tangled together through the mark. Slowly, carefully, they pulled apart and sat up. "It worked," Nari whispered. "The station lives again." Deho touched the mark on his neck. It felt different now, stronger, more permanent. He could feel Nari's presence more clearly than before, like she was standing right next to him even when she was not. "The fleets will be here soon," he said. "What do we do now?" Nari stood up, looking more alive and strong than she had since they met. "Now we prepare for war. Your people will need protection from mine, and my people need to learn that strength alone is not enough. Together, perhaps we can show them both a different way. The holographic displays around the chamber lit up, showing the approaching fleets. The human ships were the smallest, but moved with clever formations. The Velksari warships advanced like a dark wave, and somewhere in between the scavengers circled like sharks. Deho and Nari stood together before the displays, their mark glowing softly in the light. Two people from different worlds connected by accident, but standing together by choice. The station hummed with power around them, ready for whatever came next. The battle was about to begin. Commander Yuna Park stood on the bridge of her ship, staring at the view screen with growing concern. Her rescue fleet had finally reached the coordinates of Deho's last known position. What she found was not at all what she expected. The ancient station hung in space like a dark jewel. But that was not the problem. The problem was the massive fleet of alien warships forming a battle line between her ships and the station. Each vessel was 3 times the size of her largest cruiser, covered in weapons and glowing with red energy. Analysis? She asked her tactical officer. Unknown design, the officer replied, his voice tight. Power readings are off the charts. Each ship has enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Commander, we are seriously outgunned here. Yuna clenched her fists. Deho was on that station. She had known him for 10 years. He was like a brother to her. She had promised herself she would bring him home. But if she attacked, her fleet would be destroyed in minutes. Before she could give orders, her communications officer called out. Commander, we are receiving a transmission. It is from Lieutenant Kim. He is alive. Put him through, Yuna ordered. Deho's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired but alive. Next to him stood a tall, pale figure with glowing red eyes. The alien woman wore dark robes and watched the camera with an expression that was hard to read. Yuna, Deho said, thank you for coming. But you need to listen very carefully. The ships facing you belong to the Velksari Empire. They are here to destroy this station and everyone on it, including me. Then we fight, Yuna said immediately. You cannot win against them in direct combat, Deho said. But we have a plan. This station has defensive systems. If you work with us, we can protect your fleet and force them to retreat. Yuna looked at the alien woman next to Deho. Who is she? The woman spoke, her voice cold but clear. I am Nari, former queen of these people. I have been in exile for 500 years. Your Lieutenant Deho and I share a bond now. We can help each other survive this day. A bond? Yuna had 100 questions, but there was no time. The Velksari fleet was moving into attack position. What do you need from us? She asked. Time, Deho said. Keep them busy. Use hit-and-run tactics. Do not let them focus on the station. We need 15 minutes to fully charge the defensive systems. 15 minutes against an overwhelming force. It seemed impossible. But Yuna had not come all this way to give up now. Understood, she said. We will buy you the time. Do not waste it. The screen went dark. Yuna turned to her crew. All ships, break formation. Go to evasive pattern Delta. Make yourselves hard targets. Remember, we just need to survive 15 minutes. The human fleet scattered like birds. Small fast ships darted between the larger Velksari vessels. They fired missiles and energy weapons, not trying to destroy their enemies but to distract and annoy them. It was like gnats attacking elephants, but it worked. The Velksari fleet had to split its attention. On the station, Deho and Nari worked frantically at the control crystals. Engineer Hyun, who had come with the rescue fleet, helped them connect human technology to the ancient Velksari systems. It should not work. The two technologies were completely different, but the mark somehow made it possible. Where Deho touched the controls, human and Velksari systems merged. This is incredible, Hyun said, watching the displays. This station was designed for cooperation between multiple species. The Velksari must have been very different in ancient times. We were, Nari said quietly, before the betrayal, before we decided that trust was weakness. Outside, the battle grew more desperate. Velksari warships were starting to predict human movements. 2 human ships exploded in balls of fire. A third lost power and drifted helplessly. The enemy was too strong. Then a new voice came through the communications. It was deep and cold, filled with contempt. Nari, the voice said, I know you can hear me. This is Lord Wujin, your old friend. Your former lieutenant. Surrender now and I will kill you quickly. Resist and I will make your death last for centuries. Nari's hands trembled on the controls, but she did not stop working. Wujin always was cruel, she said to Deho. He wanted my throne even before my exile. Now he leads the forces sent to destroy me. 10 more minutes, Deho said, checking the power levels. Just 10 more minutes, but the human fleet was breaking. Another ship died, then another. Yuna's voice crackled over the communication. Deho, we cannot hold them much longer. Deho looked at Nari. Through the mark, they shared a thought. They could wait for full power, or they could act now with partial charge. Full power was safer, but more humans would die waiting. Partial power was dangerous, unstable, but immediate. They chose danger. Hyun, get clear, Deho shouted. The engineer ran from the control room. Deho and Nari placed their hands on the main crystal together. The mark on his neck burned like fire. Energy poured through them into the station systems. The station came alive. Shields snapped into place around the human fleet, protecting them from Velksari fire. Weapon platforms emerged from hidden ports and opened fire with beams of pure energy. The ancient technology had been sleeping for centuries, but it remembered how to fight. The Velksari fleet was caught off guard. 3 of their ships were destroyed instantly. The others pulled back, regrouping. Woojin's voice came through the communication again, this time filled with shock and rage. Impossible. That station should be dead. What have you done, Nari? Nari answered him, her voice strong and clear. I have done what you and the council could never do, Woojin. I have built a bridge between species. This human and I are connected now. Together we are stronger than any of you alone. There was a long silence. Then Woojin spoke again, his voice like ice. The High Council will hear of this. They will come with a fleet 10 times this size. And when they do, no ancient station will save you. This is not over, Nari, this is just beginning. The Velksari fleet turned and jumped into hyperspace. They were gone as quickly as they had appeared. The scavenger ships, seeing that the battle was over, also fled. They wanted treasure, not a fight. On the bridge of her ship, Yuna let out a breath she had been holding. Her fleet had survived. They had lost ships and people, but they had survived against impossible odds. On the station, Deho and Nari collapsed together, exhausted. The mark on his neck had stopped burning, but it glowed brighter than before. Permanent. Unbreakable. We did it, Deho said. We survived one battle, Nari corrected, but Woojin spoke the truth. The High Council will come, and when they do, we must be ready with more than just weapons. She looked at him with those strange red eyes. The prophecy spoke of trials. This was only the first. Are you prepared to continue this path, to stand with me against an empire? Deho thought about running, about taking his people and leaving this place behind. But he had seen what happened when humans and Velksari worked together. Impossible things became possible. And he remembered what Nari had told him about showing mercy, about refusing to kill innocent people. Maybe some things were worth fighting for, even when the enemy was an entire empire. I am prepared, he said. But we do this together. No more exiles, no more fighting alone, Nari smiled. It was the first real smile he had seen from her. Together, then, let us show the galaxy what cooperation can achieve. In the weeks after the battle, the station became a place of strange cooperation. Human engineers worked alongside Nari to repair damaged systems. Yuna established a small command post in one of the larger chambers. Scholar Jiwon, a specialist in alien cultures, arrived with supplies and immediately began studying the ancient Velksari texts that covered the station walls. Deho found Jiwon one day in the deepest part of the archive, surrounded by holographic displays showing thousands of symbols and images. The scholar's eyes were wide with excitement. Lieutenant Kim, Jiwon said, you need to see this. I have been translating the prophecy that Queen Nari mentioned. The full text is far more detailed than she remembered. Nari appeared in the doorway as if summoned. She moved silently as always. What does it say? She asked. Jiwon pulled up a display and began to read. In the time of great darkness, when the Empire has forgotten the old ways, an outsider will come. They will bear the mark of bond, neither fully of our kind nor fully their own. They will face the Council on the homeworld and present truth that was buried. If they succeed, a new age will begin. If they fail, their entire species will be erased from existence. The room went silent. Deho felt cold. My entire species, he said quietly. Earth, everyone? That is what it says, G1 confirmed. The Council will see humanity as a threat to their philosophy. If you cannot prove that cooperation is stronger than domination, they will eliminate that threat permanently. Nari moved closer to Deho. Through the mark, he felt her guilt and sorrow. "I did not know the full prophecy," she said. "I only knew fragments. I would not have put your entire world at risk." "It is too late now," Deho said. He tried to keep his voice calm, but fear clawed at his chest. "The Velksari already know about Earth. They know about me and this bond. What do I need to do?" Jiwan scrolled through more text. "You must go to Velksaris Prime, the homeworld. You must present yourself before the High Council. They will test you with 3 trials. The trial of strength tests your body. The trial of will tests your mind. The trial of bond tests your connection to Queen Nari." "What happens in these trials?" Deho asked. Nari answered this time. "The trials are designed to kill. Every outsider who has ever attempted them has died. The Council believes that only someone truly destined could survive. It is their way of testing the prophecy." Deho looked at the mark on his neck in a nearby mirror. The crimson glow seemed brighter now, more alive. This small mark had connected him to an alien queen and made him responsible for the survival of his entire species. "When do we leave?" he asked. That question started a debate that lasted for days. Captain Taiyang, one of the senior officers in Yuna's fleet, argued strongly against the mission. He was an older man with gray hair and many years of military experience. "This is suicide," Taiyang said during a meeting in the command post. "You are asking Lieutenant Kim to fly to the heart of an enemy empire and submit himself to trials designed to kill him. And for what? A prophecy? Ancient superstition?" Yuna shook her head. "The Velksari already know about Earth's location. Lord Wujin's fleet recorded our ships. They can find us now. If Deho does not go, they will come to Earth with overwhelming force. Then we fight," Taiyang said. "We prepare our defenses. We warn Earth's government." "We cannot win against the full Velksari Empire," Nari said quietly. "They have conquered hundreds of worlds. Your technology is impressive, but you are not ready for them." Taiyang turned to face her, anger in his eyes. "And we are supposed to trust you? You are one of them." "How do we know this is not a trap?" Deho stood up. "Because I trust her," he said firmly. "The mark connects us. I can feel her emotions, her thoughts. She is telling the truth. She wants to change her empire to show them a better way." The room fell silent. Everyone looked at Deho. He was the one marked. He was the one the prophecy spoke about. In the end, it was his choice. "I am going," he said, "not because I believe in destiny or fate. I am going because it is the right thing to do. If there is even a small chance that I can save Earth by going to Velksaris Prime, then I have to try." Yuna nodded slowly. "Then we go with you. I will take a small diplomatic team. Jiwan to help with translations and cultural issues, Hyun to assist with any technical needs, and myself as military representative. The Council will see this as a threat," Nari warned. "They do not like armed forces near their homeworld." "Let them," Yuna said with a hard smile. "We come in peace, but we do not come defenseless." Preparations took another week. Nari used the station's communication systems to send a message to the High Council, requesting formal audience under the ancient laws. She invoked the prophecy and declared that the marked one would present himself for judgment. The response came quickly. Empress Sora herself, leader of the High Council, granted the audience. But her message was cold and clear. "The outsider may come. He will face the trials. If he survives, we will listen to his words. If he fails, his species will be eliminated as a threat to galactic peace." On the night before departure, Deho stood alone on the observation deck, looking out at the stars. So many worlds out there, so many lives, and somehow his actions would determine if humanity continued to exist among them. Nari joined him. She no longer startled him when she appeared. Through the mark, he always knew when she was near. "Are you afraid?" she asked. "Terrified," he admitted. "But that has never stopped humans before. We have a long history of doing impossible things because they needed to be done." "This quality of yours," Nari said. "This stubborn refusal to accept defeat. I am beginning to understand why the prophecy chose a human. My people lost this quality long ago. We became so focused on strength that we forgot about courage." "Strength and courage are not the same thing?" Deho asked. "No," Nari said. "Strength is power. Courage is the choice to stand even when you have no power. You have shown me that." She reached out and touched the mark on his neck gently. The touch was no longer cold. "Whatever happens in the trials, know that I will be with you. The mark connects us. You will never face them alone." Deho placed his hand over hers. "Together, then. Human and Velksari. Let us show your empire what that can achieve. The next morning, a small human ship departed from the station. It carried 5 people. Commander Yuna at the helm, Scholar Jiwon studying final translations, Engineer Hyun checking systems, and in the passenger compartment, Daeho and Nari sat together, connected by a mark that glowed softly in the darkness. Their destination was Velxera's Prime, the heart of an empire that had crushed hundreds of civilizations. They were flying toward almost certain death. But they flew anyway because some things were worth the risk. Behind them, the rest of the human fleet prepared for the worst. If Daeho failed, if he died in the trials, Earth would need every ship and weapon they had. Captain Taeyang oversaw the preparations with grim determination. He did not believe in prophecies. He believed in guns and armor and prepared defenses, but even Taeyang had to admit, as he watched the small ship jump into hyperspace, that sometimes the future of entire worlds rested on the courage of a single person. He hoped, despite his doubts, that Lieutenant Daeho Kim had enough courage for what was coming. The trials awaited, and with them the fate of humanity. Velxera's Prime was like nothing Daeho had ever imagined. The entire planet was covered in dark crystalline structures that reached into the clouds. Towers of black glass and red metal stretched higher than Earth's tallest mountains. Energy fields crackled between the structures, creating a web of crimson lightning that never stopped moving. Their ship was escorted down by massive Velxari warships. They landed in a courtyard the size of a city, surrounded by walls that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Thousands of Velxari stood watching from balconies and walkways, their red eyes glowing in the darkness. Daeho, Nari, Yuna, Jiwon, and Hyun were led through corridors that twisted and turned in ways that hurt to look at. The architecture seemed designed to confuse and intimidate. Finally, they entered the council chamber, a vast room with a ceiling so high it disappeared into shadow. The High Council sat on thrones arranged in a circle, 9 ancient Velxari, each one radiating power that made the air feel heavy. In the center throne, elevated above the others, sat Empress Sora. She looked carved from pale stone, her eyes burning like red stars. Lord Wujin stood to the right of the Empress, his face twisted in a sneer. Other council members watched with expressions ranging from curiosity to contempt. "So," Empress Sora said, her voice echoing through the chamber, "the marked human has come. Nari, you bring this creature before us and claim he fulfills the ancient prophecy." Bold words from one who was exiled for weakness. Nari bowed formally. "Empress, I present Lieutenant Daeho Kim of Earth. He bears my mark. Together we have awakened the old station. Together we repelled Lord Wujin's fleet. This alone proves that cooperation between species can create power." Wujin laughed. It was a harsh, ugly sound. "Tricks and luck. The human survived one battle. That proves nothing. I demand he face the trials. Let us see if he is truly destined or simply fortunate." Empress Sora raised one pale hand for silence. "The trials are ancient law. Any who claim the prophecy must face them. Human, do you accept? Know that refusal means immediate death for you and your entire species." Daeho stepped forward. His legs felt weak, but he kept his voice steady. "I accept." "Then let the first trial begin," Sora declared. "The trial of strength. You will face our champion in combat. Survive and you may continue. Fail and die." The floor opened beneath them. Daeho and the others fell into darkness. When light returned, they stood in an arena. Thousands of Velxari filled the stands above, watching in silence. The arena floor was smooth black stone, unmarked and cold. A gate opened on the far side. A massive Velxari warrior entered. He was nearly 8 feet tall, covered in armor that seemed to be made of living metal. His eyes burned like furnaces. This was their champion. Yuna tried to step forward. "This is not fair combat. Give him weapons at least." Sora's voice came from speakers around the arena. "The trial tests what you are, not what you carry. The human has the mark. Let him use it if he can." The champion charged. He moved impossibly fast for something so large. Daeho barely dodged the first strike. The champion's fist hit the stone where he had been standing and left a crater. This creature could kill him with a single hit. Daeho felt the mark burn hot on his neck. Through it, he drew on Nari's power. Strength flowed into his muscles. Speed sharpened his reflexes. He dodged again, then again. The champion was strong and fast, but he fought with patterns. Predictable movements trained over centuries. Humans did not fight with patterns. They improvised. They adapted. Daeho slid under a swing and kicked at the champion's knee. The armor protected the joint, but the champion stumbled. Not much, but enough. Enough to show he could be hurt. The fight went on for what felt like hours. Daeho took hits that should have killed him. The mark kept him alive, kept him moving. He used the arena itself as a weapon. He made the champion chase him, tire him. He aimed for weak points in the armor, studied how the creature moved. Finally, Daeho saw his chance. The champion overextended on a swing. Daeho jumped, using the mark's power to leap higher than any human should. He landed on the champion's back and wrapped his arms around the warrior's neck. Not to choke him. Just to hold on. The champion thrashed and spun, trying to throw him off. But Daeho held tight. The mark blazed with light. Through it, he poured not just Nari's power, but his own will.
His determination.
His refusal to give up. The champion slowed, then stopped. He fell to his knees. Not dead, just exhausted. Defeated not by superior strength, but by endurance and will. Daeho released him and stepped back, breathing hard. The arena was silent. Then Empress Sora spoke. The first trial is complete. The human has survived, unexpected. They gave him 1 hour to rest. Yuna and Hyun tended his wounds. Nari sat beside him, one hand on his shoulder. Through the mark, she shared her energy with him. You were magnificent, she whispered. You fought with intelligence, not just power. My people have forgotten how to do that. Too soon, the hour ended. The second trial began. The trial of Will Daeho was taken to a chamber filled with strange machines. They attached devices to his head. Empress Sora explained the trial. We will assault your mind. We will show you your failures, your fears, your weakness. Most humans would go mad within minutes. You must endure until we are satisfied or until your mind breaks. Begin. Pain exploded through Daeho's skull. He saw visions. Earth burning. Yuna dying. His family crushed under Velksari ships. Every fear he had ever felt came alive and screamed at him. The visions demanded he give up, that he admit humans were weak, that he beg for mercy, but Daeho held firm. He pushed back against the visions with memories. He remembered Earth not burning, but thriving. He remembered humans rebuilding after every disaster. He remembered that humanity's strength was not that they never fell, but that they always got back up. Hours passed. The assault continued. Daeho's nose bled. His eyes leaked tears. But he did not break. He held on to one truth. Some things were worth fighting for. Some things were worth enduring pain for. His species, his friends, the future. Finally, the machines powered down. Daeho collapsed in the chair, barely conscious. Empress Sora studied him with new interest. Remarkable, she said. Your mind is not stronger than ours, but it is more resilient. You bend but do not break. This quality intrigues me. They carried Daeho back to the waiting area. Nari held his head in her lap, wiping blood from his face. Through the mark, she felt his pain and his determination. One more trial, she whispered. Just one more. But this is the cruelest of all. When Daeho could stand again, they brought him back to the council chamber. Empress Sora looked at him with something that might have been respect. The final trial, she said. The trial of bond. Before you is a choice. We can sever the mark permanently. You will return to being fully human, no powers. No connection to Nari, but also no risk. Or you can deepen the bond. Let it transform you into something neither fully human nor fully Velksari. But if you do this, you can never go back to what you were. Choose. Wu Jin smiled cruelly. The human will choose to sever it. He wants to go home unchanged. He will abandon the alien queen and prove that cooperation means nothing. Daeho looked at Nari. Through the mark, he felt her acceptance. She would understand either choice. If he wanted to go home, to be human again, she would not blame him. But that was exactly why he could not choose that path. The prophecy was not about one person being special. It was about proving that different species could bridge their differences. That they could become something new together. Something better. I choose to deepen the bond, Daeho said clearly. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Even Empress Sora looked surprised. You understand what this means? She asked. You will lose part of your humanity forever. I understand, Daeho said. But humanity is not about staying the same. It is about growing, adapting, becoming better. If I can prove that we can work with the Velksari, that we can create something new together, then losing part of myself is worth it. He turned to Nari. Together? Nari took his hands. Tears streaked down her pale face. Together. They placed their foreheads together. The mark exploded with light so bright that everyone had to look away. Energy poured through them both. Human and Velksari. Life force and ancient power. Two different beings merging into something new. When the light faded, they stood transformed. Deho's eyes now glowed with a soft red light. Nari's skin had warmth and color it never had before. They were separate people still, but connected in a way that went beyond the physical. They were proof that bridges could be built. That cooperation was not weakness. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Some Velksari cheered. Others shouted in anger. Wujin screamed that this was heresy, but Empress Sora raised her hand and silence fell. The trials are complete, she said. The human has survived all three. The prophecy is real. Now we must decide what this means for our empire. The High Council declared 3 days of deliberation. During this time, Deho and his team were confined to quarters in one of the massive towers. The rooms were luxurious but felt like a prison. Guards stood outside every door. They were guests but also prisoners. Deho spent the time trying to understand his transformation. His body felt different, stronger, more aware. He could sense things he never could before. Energy flows. Life forces. The vast web of power that connected all Velksari across their empire. And through it all he felt Nari, constant and clear. On the second day, Nari brought him to a hidden archive deep in the tower. They moved through secret passages that only royalty knew about. The archive was old, covered in dust and neglect. What is this place? Deho asked. The forbidden records, Nari said. History that the council wanted forgotten. I remembered it from before my exile. I thought it might help us. They searched through holographic records and ancient texts. What they found was shocking. The Velksari had not always been conquerors. 10,000 years ago, they were part of an alliance. Multiple species worked together, sharing technology and culture. The Velksari contributed their life energy manipulation. Other species contributed their own strengths. It was a golden age. Peace and prosperity across hundreds of worlds. But then came the betrayal. One of the allied species, the records did not say which, turned on the others. They tried to steal Velksari technology and use it as a weapon. The betrayal was complete and devastating. In response, the Velksari destroyed that entire species. They burned every world that species had ever touched. And in their rage and pain, they decided never to trust again. They rewrote their culture. Cooperation became weakness. Trust became stupidity. Only strength and domination mattered. They have been afraid for 10,000 years, Deho said quietly. All this power, all this conquest. It comes from fear, Nari nodded. Fear of being hurt again. Fear of showing vulnerability. The council buried these records because they remind us that we once believed in something other than strength. They copied the records and brought them back to their quarters. This was the truth the prophecy spoke of. The buried history that the Velksari needed to face. On the third day, the council summoned them. This time, the entire chamber was filled with Velksari citizens. Thousands watched from galleries and balconies. The decision would be public. Empress Sora spoke first. We have debated for 3 days. We have examined the prophecy. We have witnessed the trials. Now we must decide. Does humanity deserve to survive? Does cooperation have value? Or is this mark simply an aberration to be destroyed? Several council members spoke. Some argued that the trials proved nothing. That luck and trickery should not change 10,000 years of philosophy. Others, fewer in number, suggested that perhaps the Velksari had become too rigid. That strength alone had made them powerful but stagnant. Finally, Empress Sora called for Deho to speak. He stood before the council, his eyes glowing softly with red light. The mark on his neck pulsed with energy. He held up a display device showing the records they had found. Empress, council members, citizens of the Velksari Empire, he began. I am not here to tell you that humanity is special. We are not. We are young, weak, and often foolish. But I am here to show you something you have forgotten. He activated the display. Images filled the chamber. The ancient alliance. The golden age of cooperation. The betrayal. The destruction. And finally the choice the Velksari made to never trust again. You were betrayed, Deho said. That betrayal hurt you deeply. So you decided that trust was weakness. That cooperation was dangerous. For 10,000 years you have survived through strength alone. You have conquered hundreds of worlds. You are powerful, he paused. But are you strong enough to risk trusting again? Are you brave enough to face the possibility that not every species will betray you? Humanity offers you a choice. We are not asking you to be weak. We are asking you to be courageous. To build bridges instead of only walls." The chamber was silent. Then Empress Sora spoke. "The human speaks with wisdom unexpected for one so young. I have lived for 12,000 years. I remember the betrayal. I remember the pain. But I also remember what we were before." She stood from her throne. "I call for a vote. All those in favor of granting humanity provisional alliance status, make it known." Several council members raised their hands. Then several more. It was not unanimous. Wu Jin and his supporters sat with hands down, faces twisted in anger. But it was enough. The majority favored the alliance. Empress Sora nodded. "Then it is decided. Humanity will be granted provisional alliance status. We will explore cooperation between our species. The Marked One has proven that such bonds can exist. Let us see if they can thrive." Relief flooded through Deho. They had done it. Earth was safe. The prophecy was fulfilled. But then Wu Jin stood. His voice rang through the chamber. "No, this is madness. 10,000 years of strength thrown away for what? For sentiment? For weakness? I will not accept this decision. I cannot accept it." He turned to the watching crowds. "Citizens of the Empire, our Empress has grown weak with age. She would have us embrace those who will surely betray us just as we were betrayed before. I say we must remain strong. We must remain pure. And if the Council will not protect us, then we must protect ourselves." The chamber erupted in chaos. Some Velksari cheered Wu Jin's words. Others shouted him down. The Council was divided. The citizens were divided. What had seemed like victory now teetered on the edge of disaster. Wu Jin's supporters began leaving the chamber. Hundreds of them. Then thousands. They were preparing something. Daiho could feel it through his enhanced senses. The taste of violence in the air. Empress Sora's voice cut through the noise. "Lord Wu Jin, you are in open rebellion against the Council's decision. Stand down or be named traitor." Wu Jin smiled. "I am no traitor, Empress. I am a patriot trying to save our empire from your foolishness. My fleet awaits in orbit. Many of our military commanders agree with me. This decision will be reversed one way or another." He looked at Daiho with pure hatred. "And you, human? You should have died in the trials. I will correct that mistake personally." Wu Jin and his followers left the chamber. Alarms began sounding throughout the city. The rebellion had begun. Yuna immediately activated her communication device. "This is Commander Park to Human Fleet. We have a situation. The Velksari Empire is in civil war. Request immediate strategic assessment and reinforcements." Empress Sora turned to her remaining council members. "Secure the palace. Contact all loyal fleet commanders. We must respond to this rebellion swiftly or it will spread across the entire empire." She looked at Daiho and Nari. "I am sorry. I had hoped for peace. But Wu Jin has forced our hand. Now we must fight for the future you have shown us is possible." Nari stepped forward. Wu Jin was always ambitious. He has been planning this for a long time, waiting for an opportunity. He sees our transformation as that opportunity. He will try to destroy us and claim that cooperation leads only to chaos. Daiho felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He had passed the trials. He had convinced the council. But now his choices had sparked a civil war that could tear apart an empire that had stood for 10,000 years. Through the mark, Nari felt his guilt. She took his hand. "This is not your fault. Wu Jin and his kind were always going to resist change. Better to face them now with the Empress on our side than to let them grow stronger. Besides," she added with a fierce smile, "we have something they do not. We have proof that cooperation works. We are that proof. If we can show the Empire what we can achieve together, others will follow." Explosions rocked the city. Wu Jin's forces were attacking loyalist positions. The civil war had begun in earnest. Yuna looked at Daiho. "Orders, Lieutenant?" Daiho straightened his shoulders. He was transformed now, marked. Neither fully human nor fully Velksari, but still a soldier. Still someone who protected those who could not protect themselves. "We fight," he said, "not for conquest, not for domination. We fight to protect the possibility of peace. We fight to prove that different species can work together. And we fight to show Wu Jin and everyone else that courage is stronger than fear." Nari squeezed his hand. Through the mark, their determination merged. They were ready. The Velksari civil war had begun. And at its center stood a human and a queen, bonded together fighting for a future neither of their species had dared to imagine. The Civil War raged for 3 weeks. It split the Velksari Empire down the middle. Half the fleet followed Lord Wujin and his traditionalist beliefs. The other half stayed loyal to Empress Sora and her vision of cooperation. Both sides were powerful. Both sides were determined. The galaxy shook with their conflict. Humanity found itself in an impossible position. Commander Yuna had called for reinforcements, and Earth had sent what ships they could spare. But human vessels were tiny compared to Velksari warships. In any direct fight, they would be crushed instantly. But Yuna understood something important. Humans did not need to match Velksari power. They needed to complement it. So she worked with Nari to develop new tactics. Human ships would integrate into Velksari formations, providing speed and unpredictability. Engineer Hyun created interface systems that let human pilots temporarily link with Velksari vessels, combining human creativity with alien power. The results shocked everyone. Mixed squadrons of human and Velksari ships fought with coordination that should be impossible. Where Velksari ships provided overwhelming firepower, human ships provided tactical flexibility. Where humans needed protection, Velksari shields held firm. Together they became something greater than either species alone. Word of these successes spread through the empire. Some of Wu Jin's followers began to question their choice. They saw proof that cooperation worked. They saw that the marked human and the exiled queen were not weak. They were powerful in a way the Velksari had forgotten was possible. Defections started slowly. A ship here, a squadron there. But as the war continued, more and more of Wu Jin's forces switched sides. They did not join because they were losing. They joined because they wanted to be part of something new. Wu Jin grew desperate. He saw his support crumbling, so he made a bold move. He seized the Nexus, the ancient diplomatic station where Daiho and Nari first met. From there, he planned to broadcast a signal using the station's technology. The signal would force all Velksari to reject their bonds and return to traditional thinking. It would undo everything Daiho and Nari had built. Intelligence reports reached Empress Sora within hours. She summoned Daiho, Nari, and Yuna to her war room. "We must stop him," Sora said. "If that signal goes out, it will end our cooperation. Every Velksari who has formed a bond will be forced to break it. The pain would be unimaginable." "How long do we have?" Yuna asked. 12 hours, Nari said. "That is how long it takes to charge the station's broadcast systems to full power. After that, the signal cannot be stopped." Daiho studied the tactical displays. The Nexus was heavily defended. Wu Jin had positioned his best ships around it. Any direct assault would take too long and cost too many lives. "We need a small team," he said. "Fast ships that can slip through the defenses. Get inside the station and reach the core before Wu Jin can activate the signal." "A suicide mission," Yuna said flatly. "No," Daiho corrected. "A mission that requires absolute coordination between human and Velksari. Which is exactly what we have been training for." The plan came together quickly. Yuna would lead a distraction fleet, drawing Wu Jin's forces away from the station. Meanwhile, Daiho and Nari would take a small strike team directly to the core. Hyun would go with them to handle the technical aspects of shutting down the signal. 8 hours later, they launched the operation. Yuna's fleet attacked from multiple directions, forcing Wu Jin to split his defenses. In the chaos, one small ship slipped through the gaps. Inside were Daiho, Nari, Hyun, and 3 Velksari warriors who had defected from Wu Jin's ranks. They docked at the same bay where Daiho had first crashed weeks ago. The station remembered them. Through their bond, it recognized Nari's royal blood and Daiho's mark. Doors opened without resistance. Systems activated to help them, but Wu Jin was not stupid. He had left guards throughout the station. The team fought their way through corridor after corridor. The defected Velksari warriors proved their loyalty in blood, holding off attackers while Daiho and Nari pushed forward. They reached the central chamber with only 30 minutes to spare. Wu Jin stood before the broadcast crystal, his hands already channeling energy into it. The crystal pulsed with growing power. "You are too late," Wu Jin said with a smile. "In 30 minutes, every bond will break. Your precious cooperation will end, and the Velksari Empire will return to its proper strength." "Hyun," Daiho called. "Can you stop it?" The engineer was already working at a secondary console. "Maybe, but he has locked the controls. I need someone with royal access to override him." Nari moved toward the crystal, but Wu Jin blocked her path. "I will not let you interfere, my former queen. You betrayed our people once. I will not allow you to do so again." Energy crackled between them. Two Velksari, both powerful, both determined. If they fought, it would be devastating. But Deho stepped between them. Wu Jin, he said. It does not have to be this way. You are afraid. I understand that. Your people were betrayed before. You do not want it to happen again. Wu Jin laughed harshly. You think you understand us? You are human. You know nothing of 10,000 years of history. You are right, Deho said. I do not understand all your history. But I understand fear. And I understand that hiding behind walls of strength is easier than risking trust. But easy does not mean better. He touched the mark on his neck. This bond changed me. It made me part Velksari. I can feel what Nari feels. I can sense the connections between your people. And I can tell you something important. You are not weaker because you cooperate. You are stronger. But only if you choose it freely. Deho held out his hand, not in threat, in offer. Your signal will force Velksari to reject bonds. It will take away their choice. Is that really strength? Or is it just another kind of fear? For the first time, Wu Jin hesitated. His hands trembled on the crystal. You do not know what you ask. To trust again after betrayal. To open ourselves to pain again. It is too much, I know, Deho said gently.
It is terrifying.
But the alternative is to stay locked in the past forever. Is that the empire you want? One built on fear and anger from 10,000 years ago? Wu Jin looked at the crystal, then at Deho, then at Nari. In his eyes, a war raged. 10,000 years of conditioning against one moment of doubt. His hands left the crystal. The chamber went silent. The crystal's power began to fade. Wu Jin collapsed to his knees, looking suddenly old and tired. I cannot, he whispered. I cannot force this on my people. If they want bonds, if they want cooperation, it must be their choice. Not mine, not anyone's. Nari approached him slowly. You were always the most loyal of my followers, Wu Jin. Loyal to what you believed was right. That loyalty has value even when we disagreed on what right meant. She extended her hand to him. Help us build something better. Use your loyalty and strength for a new empire. One based on choice, not fear. Wu Jin looked at her hand for a long moment. Then he took it and stood. I do not know if I can change. 10,000 years of thinking does not disappear easily. No one expects you to change overnight, Deho said. Just be willing to try. That is all any of us can do. News of Wu Jin's surrender spread through both fleets within hours. The civil war ended not with a final battle, but with a choice. Wu Jin ordered his forces to stand down. The traditionalists, seeing their leader change his mind, had to reconsider their own positions. The Velksari Empire dissolved in the weeks that followed. Not destroyed, but transformed. In its place rose the Velksari Commonwealth, with Empress Sora as the first elected leader. The change was not easy. Many Velksari struggled with the idea of cooperation, but more and more began to see the benefits. Humanity was granted full membership in the Commonwealth. Other species that had hidden from the Empire began to emerge, seeking their own bonds and partnerships. The galaxy slowly began to change. Daiho was offered a position as the first liaison officer between Earth and the Commonwealth. Nari would serve as co-ambassador, representing the Velksari perspective. Together, they would help build the bridges between species. 6 months after the trials, Daiho stood on the observation deck of what had been the Nexus Station. It had been renamed Unity Station and now served as the Commonwealth's diplomatic headquarters. Through the wide windows, he watched human and Velksari ships patrolling together. The mark on his neck glowed softly, a permanent reminder of where he had been and what he had become. He touched it gently. He was not fully human anymore, but he was not fully Velksari either. He was something new, something that proved bridges could be built. Nari joined him at the window. She no longer looked like the pale ghost he had first met. Color warmed her skin. Emotions showed on her face. She had changed too, becoming more human even as he became more Velksari. Do you have regrets? She asked quietly. Daiho thought about his old life. Simple scouting missions, normal human existence. He had given that up. He could never go back to being just human. The mark had changed him forever. No, he said finally. I do not regret it. We proved something important. We showed that different species can work together. That cooperation creates strength fear never could. Yuna's voice came through his communication device. Daiho, we have another delegation arriving. The Coral want to discuss joining the Commonwealth. They remember Nari saving their species 500 years ago. Nari's eyes widened. The Coril,